If you've driven through Nashville recently, you know white exteriors on homes are extremely popular. That's not only true for new construction, but for people that are kind of doing some remodeling on existing homes, white exteriors are hot. Now, usually you're going to see that with painted brick. The home design, you're going to see some high gables, you're going to see the shingle roof. It's just kind of the architecture and home building design that's popular here in Nashville. But what about the home buyers who are looking for something different? Well, today I'm going to show you this spectacular modern design. I am out here at 1143 Battery Lane, and we're going to take a look at a home that's full of light and clean lines. My name's Sean Larson, real estate broker here in Middle Tennessee and the 38 Florida market, and we're going to check out this incredible home. Now, like I mentioned, a lot of Nashville architecture or building materials, it consists of brick. We've got a phase where we went through a lot of brick and stone blend. A lot of high-pitched roofs and gables, shingles, that type of building material look. But, not everybody's looking for that. Sometimes people are relocating from a market where, everything's more contemporary, and they're looking for something like that and something not so traditional to our area. Or maybe somebody's just looking to step out, from their normal zone, and they see something like this, and they're like, that would be really cool to live in something like that. Well, here at 1143 Battery Lane, you are going to see the ultimate assembly of that. Now, keep in mind, when people are looking for kind of artistic homes or modern, they're looking for clean lines. They appreciate how light goes through a home. So, when you come in a home like this, you can't expect it to be stuffed of, crown molding, big base and stuff like that we see in traditional designs, because the person or the buyer who is kind of looking for this, they're not looking for those items. They're looking for a different appreciation for a home. So you're going to see a lot of that inside. See, what did I tell you? Look at that beautiful light. Look at that when you first walk in. That is just stunning. Now keep in mind, that people that are looking for this style of home, they're looking at, the appreciation of the light, that how it follows the edges. I mean, look at that staircase. And it just has that pool of light that comes down. So when architects are designing these homes, they know that. They know that's what a homeowner of this style home appreciates. So they design it so the light floods the home in certain ways. So the light comes around certain edges a certain way. Look at that. And they know that they have appreciation for clean lines. So in a lot of the videos, you're going to see where I'm pointing out like monster base molding, base molding that's about a foot tall, crown molding that's huge. I mean, look at this, even down to the light switches are different. So just like a traditionally designed home, incorporates all those components that we talk about, to come up with a final product. This home is no different, and sometimes making a home with clean lines and such an open design is actually more difficult than a traditional home. So it could be, somebody says, well, if there's not as much going into it, shouldn't the price be different? No, not necessarily, because sometimes it's more difficult, to build a wide open space. Sometimes some architecture design has to be done in order to have that space be so open. Look at that. Another comparison or contrast you'll see too with windows. In a traditional design, you see a lot of gridded glass, where here you've got large picturesque windows, and that helps just flood the place with light. You can also see with the design too, the furnishing preferences are different. They've got a lot of design to them, a lot of artistic aspects. Even down to the hardware. Because one thing I try to remind home buyers of as they look through homes, look at the details, because it's easy to go into a home and just, focus on the large items, especially with all the TV programs. Everybody comes in, looks at the countertop, stainless appliances, and they really only look about eye height. But to really appreciate a home, especially if you are comparing several of them, you need to really start looking at the details, because that's where it really adds up. And that can be, as simple as the hardware on the cabinets, the type of plumbing fixtures, lighting fixtures. Now flooring here, look at the contrast. You've got polished concrete here down to wood. Seeing that just blends and contrasts so well. And you know, as soon as people walk in, the first thing they're going to look at is that kitchen. Look at all the storage, clean line, flush mount. Look at that. Seeing those details, even down to the edge of the countertop. See, in a traditional design, you've got a few different edges of countertops that they usually grind into the material. But see, everything comes together, even sink design. I mean, look at that view while you're standing there cooking. And this is in Nashville. You know, when I film a lot of in-town videos, I try to remind people, you know, if you come to the city, a lot of times people think in the city means everything is concrete. And that is not the case. You know, if you go, you know, to the urban core, you're going to see a lot of concrete when you're downtown there. But look at this. Look at that view right here in town. Got your receptacles, flush mount. And when we talk about all the light in a home, you know, it's not only about letting the light in, but it's what happens after the light, after it comes in. You know, if you have a lot of dark interiors, that light is going to get absorbed. You know, if you notice in here, there's a lot of white. The floors are light, even the decor is light. And all of that keeps the light from being absorbed, and it reflects it, and it gives you that bright look. I mean, look at the slider doors. Yeah, we're going to get out to that pool. But look at that. You've got a solid line of green giants out there, and those are only going to continue to grow and provide even more privacy than they are already. But those are at least probably 14 or 15 feet tall right now. And the way the homes adjacent to this are positioned, you already have great privacy. And in Tennessee, our temperatures, you know, we get a little warm in the summer and we get a little cool in the winter, but for the most part, you get to use open or outdoor spaces a lot of the year. So look at those sliders. Just think of the seasons where you can have those sliders open and just have, whether it be for personal use or you're entertaining, and you can just have that, the living space just flow out to the patio there. Love that contemporary design of the firebox and the TV over. That is awesome. It's always interesting to view each home from different angles. And the buyer that appreciates a modern home like this appreciates those angles and light. So if you just look across there, you see the different grades of white and gray. See, that is what appeals to somebody who wants a modern design home. That is just beautiful. And again, this is 1143 Battery Lane in Nashville. Just get a good shot of the foyer here. Great entryway. And, you know, some people may see concrete and are surprised maybe that it's not covered with another flooring material. But concrete in itself is an incredible material. You know, having that for flooring is a design element in itself. Okay, so that staircase pool of light is drawing us in. So let's go see upstairs. But as we do, I mean, look at the small design elements. Even the selection of the light switches, the lighting for the staircase. See, it's all very intentional. You know, even how the riser and tread meet. It's very intentional. So never look at a modern home or a contemporary home and think that, yeah, wow, that design was simple because, you know, there are not as many elements. That is not true. A lot of times it is more difficult to design that. Look at that. You just come up into this huge pool of light right here, halfway up the stairs. And see those shadows on the wall? That's not by accident. See, that type of stuff is intentional design in a modern home. Look at that. As we come up to the first landing, you're going to notice there's even LED lighting as well. So even in the evening, you can wash this wall with light. You got a switchback staircase coming upstairs here. And all of this opens up directly to a living space right here. And see, they stayed consistent. Look how bright it is. You got the light floor. Skylight coming in. So this is the second level. This is where we're going to find the bedrooms in this home. Storage on the right. Real clean hardware. Even down to the hinges. Look at that. Now see, this is the type of thing as people walk through, you know, if you just stay at eye level and are just focusing on the highlights, these are the things you're going to miss. Look at that. They even carried it through to the shower. Look at the large window. And it's privacy glass, so you're all good there. You won't have to turn off your light with a shade or curtains or anything. And look at the size of that shower. Well thought out. You have the valve on the wall where you can turn on the shower and not immediately be under the spray head while you're doing it. You can let it go ahead and warm up there. Got your linear drain. Nice design. And you know, the selection of fixtures, you know, including the plumbing, the toilet, everything contributes to the overall design. Nice clean mirror. Nice clean edge on it. Spectacular. So those small details, they all add up. And you notice all the recessed lighting in here too. You know, they have the main lighting fixtures, but then you also have the recessed light. All of that contributes. And look at this. Step right out of the bedroom. Look at that. Overlooking the pool there. Isn't that just awesome? Got your own resort right here in your backyard. That is incredible. And it's nice with that balcony that you have several access points to that. So we're coming back out from one of the bedrooms, back up to the staircase and common living area. Look at that. You just can't help but to appreciate all the light in here. Got the large slider door, takes you right back out to the balcony, overlooking the pool. And just like we talked about downstairs, you know, with how many seasons you have here where the weather is so pleasant, you know, you could open that door and just let the breeze come in. We're on the upper floor. We're coming into the primary suite. You've got the closet with pocket doors. Look at that build out. Is that not spectacular right there? And closets are one of those hot buttons that everybody looks for in a home. They are looking for the ultimate closet. And this is no doubt one of them. Look at the layout of that. You know, everybody's different how they want their closets based on, you know, how they live and what they wear. You know, how much half length, full length, folded clothes storage, shoe racks. But look at that. So well designed. It's not only designed, for practicality, but it's just extremely beautiful as well. Beautiful. So as we exit the closet, we're coming over to the primary bedroom. And again, we're on the second level. And look at that, those picturesque windows just continue. That lighting fixture, you got the recessed lighting. And you just get a feel for just how clean, light, and airy the whole vibe is. And that's what people in a modern home are looking for. They want that light and bright feeling. They want to appreciate the light. Got your own door that goes out to the balcony there. And again, this is second level. Beautiful. Just look down that hallway. Look at that reflection of the mirror going to that primary bath. You see that tub sitting in there, don't you? That's where we're heading. Passing the closet. Again, you've got the pocket doors to close all that off. Beautiful. You don't even have to enter the room before you start appreciating all the finishes. Again, you got the large window, lots of light, got the privacy glass, so you're all good there. Beautiful wall. Now, initially, if somebody's coming in and seeing two glass doors, they might think that's a walk-through shower. But actually, the first one on the left, the glass door, is actually your water closet room. Nice and bright. On the other side, you've got your walk-in shower. Nice, clean tile. Awesome design. Got your wide niche there. That is so cool when those are so spacious. When niches started, they used to be kind of small. I think people still kind of struggle to fit their bottles in there, but nowadays they just size them so well. Got your linear drain. Beautiful. That wall is just stunning. And the way the light hits things, as simple as, a grout line or something. When you have a nice side light coming from that large window, all of that contributes to your overall look. Got your plumbing fixtures, wall mounted, coming out of the mirror there. Beautiful. Got your floating vanity. And see, even a floating vanity adds to the openness, where that doesn't go all the way to the floor. It just adds to the feel. Okay, so for reference, we're coming out of the primary suite, coming back into the upper level living space. I always mention, one of the cool things about video, got your own spa area, is that, when you do a walkthrough on video, it lets you know how the rooms all connect. Don't get me wrong, I love still photography. I have still pictures. I have a photography background. But sometimes it's good to see how the rooms connect. And see, this could be used for a small yoga studio. You could even do a small office there. So we're back out to the common living space, back to the staircase. Got your upstairs laundry. Beautiful. And just glance outside the window too. Sometimes when people are looking at homes, they want to know, what are the homes like that, immediately adjacent to it? Well, you've got more modern right next door. So you're in great company. Storage along the hallway here. Again, real clean design. Again, large window, privacy glass. Same thing in this shower. Good placement of the valves. And see, those small things add up. And it's one of those things you don't notice it until you use one like that. You're like, wow, that made such perfect sense to put the valve back here on the wall so I can turn it on and the water can start heating up before I even enter it. Same thing, the selection of the plumbing and toilet. Got the floating vanity there as well, all the way down to the counter edge top. See, all that stuff adds up to a look. You know, even the shape of the sink contributes. Clean edges on the mirror. Nice and bright. And you'd be amazed at, you know, how much of a difference floor color makes. You know, it just keeps it bright. You got the white paint. Here you have a small balcony that is actually on the front side of the home. So if you remember, we originally started the video out front, and I believe that's a Japanese maple out there. So see, that's where we started at the entrance. Got the overhang there. And see, that's an element there where people think, oh, well, you know, it's a simple design. No, there's a lot of work and design that goes into making that overhang like that, and that contributes to the modern design. So this bedroom has its own balcony on the front side of the home. So you're immediately thinking morning coffees, evening coffees, perfect for that. So we're coming back out to the living space, back out to the staircase, and then back down to the main level. Beautiful light. I just love how that light comes down, and even that shadow right there, and that is intentional. Okay, so we just came back downstairs. We're coming back to the living room. We're gonna head out, take a look at the pool. Okay, I know when we shoot homes with pools, everybody's like, let's go see the pool. So here we are. So look at this patio. And again, you know, when we were inside, we were looking at those slider doors. And with our seasons here, you know, so many times you're gonna be able to keep those open. You're gonna be able to just let the breeze in. Entertainment nights, you're gonna be able to just ease right out here onto the patio. Look at that beautiful pool. And we already talked about the screening. And again, those are probably 14, 15 foot tall green giants. And if you're not familiar with Tennessee, green giants are extremely popular for screening. And one reason is because they grow quickly and they're very durable. So before you know it, you know, those are gonna have additional height on them, and you'll have even more screening. Look at that. And you can see where the design of the home even carries out even into the landscaping. Look how symmetrical and even the trees are at the end. So it's not just an interior thing. That type of design goes throughout the home. I'm just gonna pan up. You're gonna get a shot of the balcony there that we walked out on the second level. And you're gonna see that in order to keep visual, see how the top part of the balcony edge there is glass railing? See, and that's so you can have a view, maybe if you're even sitting in a chair. And again, this is 1143 Battery Lane in Nashville. And it's another awesome example how, you know, when you come to town or in the city, everything isn't solid concrete. You've got plenty of grass and everything to enjoy your yard. You've got green spaces. You've got really, really incredible access to so many things right here on Battery Lane. You know, you're just a couple minutes to downtown. You've got Green Hills there. You go south a little bit, you're down to Cool Springs. I-65 isn't too far away. So if anybody is looking in town and they want to reduce their commute or keep it to a minimum, this area of town is perfect for that. You've got several areas just right at your fingertips. Look how good that home looks there. You can really appreciate the design and the lines of that. I mean, it looks like something you see on the architectural magazines or something like that, doesn't it? It is just beautiful. Well, I hope you enjoyed that tour of 1143 Battery Lane. Again, it's a modern and contemporary home. It offers a spectacular alternative to kind of what's a traditional design here of brick and high-pitched roofs. And, you know, like I mentioned, people who are looking for modern homes or contemporary design, they have a huge appreciation for how light goes through a home. And the window placement and everything like that in the design, it's not by accident. Architects put the windows in certain places, design the walls at certain angles, so light transitions through the home. Doesn't only fill it, but it transitions through there, so there's appreciation for that. You probably saw that when we had the shot of the staircase, that beautiful pool of light that just came down the staircase, the shadow on the wall from the ceiling. That is intentional, and it is incredible. So if I can answer any questions about this home at 1143 Battery Lane or anything real estate related, by all means, please reach out. I truly believe the more information people have about real estate, the better decisions they're going to make, and I am always happy to share any information I know just so they can make better decisions. My name again is Sean Larson, real estate broker here in Middle Tennessee and the 38 Florida market, and I hope you have a fantastic day.